Hi there, it's Albert Luck again from luckymaths.co.uk. Here are the work solutions to paper 2C non-calculator. Again, available on the website to download and use. Okay, in the first page, question number 3, write 3/5 as a decimal. Okay, a common mistake I would see here, or misconception, students would write 0.35, unfortunately showing a lack of understanding maybe of this subject. So if we split 1 into fifths, basically, in each box goes 0.2, or if we had 100%, split it 5 ways, we'd have obviously 20% in the box. So could look at it like 60% is equivalent to 3/5, which as a decimal is 0.6 in this case. To do the conversion in question 5, we're using a ratio table to show 1 litre is equal to 1,000 millilitres. Therefore, 2 litres obviously is 2,000. But by dividing by 10, we can get 0.1 of a litre, 0.2 litres. To then put that all together, 2.3 litres, therefore it is equal to 2,300 millilitres. Okay, so this question about time, always have to be careful with students when it's, a lot of students, unfortunately, the misconception is the clock ends up being, we work in hundreds, or we try and add time sometimes, not realizing we can't work with time like we would do with obviously our a base 10 number system, let's say. So 2¼ hours, to clear up, you just use a bar model at the top to show 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. So it's going to be 2 hours 15 later. And I think working with time sometimes is worth just breaking it into kind of hour kind of parts, and then any kind of minute extra bits, let's say at the end. So 10:40, an hour later, 11:40, another hour, 12:40, and then the 15 minutes at 12:55. Okay, and this final question again is based on again trying to convert 3 hours 45 minutes into minutes, and I've tried to just use a bit of a bar model to show 3/60 and a 45 is 225 minutes. So then obviously the next step would be to work out the difference, subtract the 142. Then we've got a tally chart, obviously, and then a bar chart, of course, all nicely labeled. Simplifying here, I've used this technique, of course, of drawing out 7 V's and then below -4 V's. So to show that 3V, positive 3V is left over. 2W plus W is quite simply going to be 3W, again, plus 3W, to give 3V plus 3W. Solving this equation, which is tricky because it's a decimal answer, 5k, 5 times a number plus 3 has to equal 11. Well, we know that can't be an integer. 5 times 1 plus 3 would be 8. 5 times 2 plus 3, 13 is too big. But at least we know, if you can use trial and error sometimes, actually the answer has to be somewhere between 1 and 2. It will help narrow it down. However, it's non-calculator. So strategy here, I've drawn out 6 boxes, but 5 of them are showing what K is, and then we've got the 3 in blue on the end. Because 11 take away 3 leaves us with 8 for those 5 equal boxes, okay, or value of K. And dividing by 5, 8, if you divide 8 by 10 and get 0.8, then you can quite simply double the answer to get leave you with 1.6. Estimation, we're estimating to one significant figure. So 38 hours, we'll call that 40, £18.50, call that £20. If 1 hour is therefore £20, 2 hours, 4 hours, etc., it's 80, so 40 hours. A good estimate would be £800. Okay, averages for question 10. I've not chosen to do anything there because a lot of the information is already provided and the definitions. But again, questions with relating to speed, distance, and time. If Daniel travels 7.5 miles in 12 minutes, there's a few options here. I've chosen to times that by 10 to get to 120 minutes, 2 hours, and then half that. But I suppose I could have just doubled 12 to get 24 minutes, double 24 to get 48, and then add 48 and 12 together, which would still give you the same answer, obviously, of 37.5. Okay, got adding fractions there where obviously finding a common denominator is crucial. This one about the floor, to understand about area, I think this is quite complicated numbers to work with these tiles and stuff. So 10 times 6, 60 meters squared, 40 centimeters per carpet tile in meters is 0.4. 0.4 times 0.4 is 0.16 meters squared. So every carpet tile is taking up 0.16 meters squared, and we need to work out how many of those are needed to fill 60 meters squared. So I've chosen to use, again, a big ratio table. If one tile is 0.16, 2 tiles will be double that. I've gone 3 and 4, but I've then gone straight to 100 tiles, 200 and 300, because the numbers needed to kind of get closer to 60. So I've chosen to try and increase the numbers quite dramatically. 300 tiles, we know, covers 48 meters squared. That's what I've worked out. But then to get the remaining 12, if I half the 100 tiles, or 16 meters squared, we get 8 meters squared, and then half of that is 4. So then 50 and 25 together with the 300 means we're going to need to buy 375 carpet tiles, and then if they cost £3.75 per tile, okay, so one tile, then I'm using a ratio table to work out 10 tiles and 100, and then I've scaled that up. 100 tiles and 200 tiles is where the 300 will come from, and that was by doubling the 100 tiles. If we half the 100, we get the cost of 50, and half of that is the cost of 25. So it's, again, a bit of work to do here with the decimals to get that right. But like I said, by doubling, times it by 10, etc., and halving, you can get quite a lot done here. Even percentages, if 50% of a number is 20, we should be able to work out that 100% of that number is 40. If we want 180%, I've worked out 10% is 4. Doubled that, 20% is 8, 40% is 16, and 80% will be 32. So I've underlined the two numbers I need to add together and combine. 40 and 32 is 72. Okay, and finally, another problem-solving question involving percentages and fractions. Firstly, 75%. Good way to do that is to half 100%, 50%, and half that, 25%. Add the two numbers together. So that's £90 that Ava's given to Ethan, basically. Ethan is going to spend a third of the money. 90 split into 3 boxes, each box £30. He only spends that much. He's going to give the rest back. So I've circled the money he's going to give back, which is 90. Okay, sorry, 60. But Ava, sorry, had £30 to start with. So 60 plus 30. Ava now has £90 out of the 120. And I've just used a final ratio table here to show that 90 over 120 divides by 10, 9 over 12, divided by 3, leaves you with 3/4. And again, some other uses of ratio tables and bar models to do exam style questions. Hope that's been useful. Thanks for watching again.